What secret was revealed when cleaning out the home of a deceased family member? We all knew this one uncle had a second family. We expected drama at the funeral. No one was expecting his third family to show up. Wife, 3 kids. This new family knew the rest of the family by name from pictures. How we are all related, names, hobbies. That was a wildly bizarre experience. I'm African American and my husband is white. My father faced a lot of prejudice during his lifetime, and I was terrified of telling him that the white guy I'd been on a date or two with I was getting serious with. The first time I brought my now husband home, my dad was courteous but distant, miraculously. By the second time, my father literally gushed all over my husband. Even my siblings were shocked. When we got married, he was beaming. It was odd, but I was just happy my husband had won him over. My mom died in 2014 and my father in 2021. When my siblings and I went to clean out the house, in his safe along with other important documents, we found letters that my husband had written to my father 24 years before about how he felt about me, how he was serious about his relationship with me, how he was planning to go to law school. He did. He's an attorney now. How he respected that he'd gone through so much in his lifetime, and eventually how he loved me, and how with his blessing he was going to propose. My husband never told me he'd written my father, and my father never told me he'd been corresponding with my husband. It was so emotional finding those. I still tear up when I think about it. When I got home, my husband finally showed me the letters my father had written back. Not a secret, but a near secret. My grandfather, who spoke English as a third language, was a bit of a hodder. Lots of old stuff stockpiled in his basement, but well organized. Imagine a generic episode of Harders, but with a prepper OCD vibe. Everything was sanitized, stacked, nested, and grouped logically. It was like the stock room for a store that wasn't yet sure what products it was selling and wanted to be ready. So we find a cylindrical container that was kinda heavy for its size, and it had the label, Old Penis. It was one of those black plastic film containers. Hesitant, but curious, we removed the lid. It contained a collection of 1-cent pieces, which had been minted in the first half of the 20th century. Part of me was disappointed. Part of me was relieved. I found a hidden .38 revolver in my late stepfather's bookshelf. Every bullet in the gun had the name Steve written in Sharpie. No one had ever heard of him. Elderly aunt had a hidden room with staircase to basement area no one knew about. She and her son had a meth lab. This was in the 90s in Philly. Blew us all away. Grandpa did drawings of the faces of the people he killed in World War II. Nobody knows why, but my grandma said he had a lot of guilt over the things he saw, so my guess is he didn't want to forget them, or didn't feel like he should be allowed to forget them. A diary with only a few entries from my uncle, who lived alone. One of the entries was about how sad he was to have never met anyone or had children, and how lonely he was. Broke my heart. That my dad hid money all over the house. Not huge amounts, mind you, but $60 here, $120 there. Felt like a bit of a scavenger hunt when we were cleaning out his stuff. He was always a bit of a sneakily generous guy. Always gave me and my brothers a secret handshake, with money tucked in his palm, when we'd go back to school after a weekend home, etc. So wouldn't be surprised if he'd done it intentionally. Made us smile every time we found some. Think the final total was somewhere around $800. My dad passed away in 1994, was 28. While going through his safe, I found some adoption papers. While reading through them, I got excited at the prospects I might have a brother out there somewhere. I was raised as an only child, but couldn't understand why my parents never told me that they'd adopted a child, but never told me. After rereading them, I realized that the papers were about me. After confronting my family about this, turns out everyone, family, close friends, I mean everyone, knew I was adopted, except me. That was a fun day. After my grandfather died, I asked my dad to quietly go through his dad's bedroom while I took my grandmother out to lunch. I explained that Granddad might have racy magazines about that would be upsetting to Grandma if she found them, so just be a good son and save your mom from that. When we got back, my dad was nearly hysterical, half laughing, half barfing, and pulled me into the garage to debrief. Apparently, my grandfather was exactly the devout Catholic that he had appeared to be, and what my poor father had found in the bedside table was a stack of cheesecake pictures of his own mother. Mine was confirmation of a wild story. My grandfather served in Korea. 4 years. There was a tall tale about how he won a house in Korea. Unsure how to phrase this politely online, that it included the family who owned it, and essentially anyone who worked there in a game of poker, that when he returned home, after a few years of receiving letters and small payments, my grandmother told him to give the ownership back. The family. I don't think anyone really believed him when the story was told, over and over again. My grandmother died when I was young, so couldn't ask her if it was true. When he passed away and we were cleaning out the house, we found the letters from the family and the letter from the lawyer Gramps used to officially return ownership. My grandpa owned a pleasure house in Korea is a sentence that's hard to say. My step-grandma had been married 5 more times than she told my grandpa she had been. He was her 9th husband, not her 4th. Not really a secret, but cleaning out my gay brother's sex toy collection in front of my father wasn't a lot of fun. My brother found giant pickle jars of coins, mostly pennies, in our grandpa's garage, turned it into cash, and it was nearly $400. He took everyone helping clean that day to my grandpa's favorite restaurant for dinner. Grandfather worked on the Manhattan Project as a master machinist. We didn't know until he passed away in 1993, when we found various specifications and directives written to him by Oppenheimer, Fermi, Teller, and General Groves. We all secretly knew he had thousands of dollars in cash hidden in his house. What we didn't know was how much, and that each of us knew of different stashes. The one I knew about had about $9,800. While cleaning out his house, we discovered a total of $160,000 plus. It was a Helluva Easter egg hunt. I had a falling out with my father when I was 21. Fast forward 18 years when died, and I found stacks of pictures, notes, and articles about me. My stepmom said he was always proud of me and didn't know how to say he was sorry. We found a box containing an old KKK robe in my grandpa's closet after he passed. Apparently my great-grandfather's father was a member of the Klan, so that's a fun little snippet of family history we had absolutely no knowledge of. I believe my uncle took the robe and burned it. Many years ago I went with my dad and aunt to clean out my great-uncle's apartment after he passed away. He was never married, no kids, and lived, we thought, very poor. Tiny apartment with a twin bed, table and chair, a couple of pots and pans, a couple pants and shirts, and that's basically it. As we stripped the bed and moved the mattress, we were shocked. He had hundreds of stacks of $10 bills wrapped in rubber bands under his mattress. They were all $10 bills. He lived during the Depression and didn't trust banks, apparently. But we had no idea he had so much cash. He never spent it on anything, just bundled it and saved it under his mattress. Some of the bills were so old and yellowed, it equaled thousands of dollars. We had no idea. My grandmother, we discovered, had a decent-sized safety deposit box full of gold bars. She kept meticulous records of her finances and business dealings, as she was a very successful author, yet no record of the purchase or the existence of these gold bars was in any of her records. We have no idea of how, when, or why they were acquired. I'd love to know. Here it is. Share in the comments the secret revealed after the death of your relative. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.